भरपूर जीवन तेरे लिए यीशु लाया है तेरे लिए यीशु लाया है तेरे लिए भरपूर जीवन तेरे लिए भरपूर जीवन तेरे लिए जीवन से दर्द कर एक युदा यीशु भी देता जीवन में आ जीवन से दर्द कर एक युदा यीशु भी देता जीवन में आनंद जीवन तेरे लिए आनंद जीवन तेरे लिए यीशु लाया है तेरे लिए यीशु लाया है तेरे लिए भरपूर जीवन तेरे लिए भरपूर जीवन तेरे लिए खाली है जीवन तेरा हे बेकरार दर्श का तो यीशु तुझ पर करता है प्यार खाली है जीवन तेरा हे बेकरार दर्श का तो यीशु तुझ पर करता है प्यार जननों से जीवन तेरे लिए जननों से जीवन तेरे लिए यीशु लाया है तेरे लिए यीशु लाया है तेरे लिए भरपूर जीवन तेरे लिए भरपूर जीवन तेरे लिए यीशु लाया है तेरे लिए यीशु लाया है तेरे लिए यीशु
Welcome to the yet another eye opener program this evening, and we have a very renowned dignitaries to speak to us this evening. And before I introduce all of them, let me put the scenario or put the introduction of the topic. We've been discussing for the past 2 weeks about the atrocities that are happening against SC, ST, OBC communities and minorities especially, whereas the minority communities in general in India are actually part and parcel of SC, ST and OBC communities. Majority of the SC, ST, OBC communities are also part of the minority communities. So, we have been witnessing a lot of atrocities against these communities, and we have been seeing, in fact, the recent cases such as Hathras case and such as the killing of people in Muzaffarpur, killing of people in Barabanki, killing of people or insulting people in Tamil Nadu, 2 incidents consecutively in 3 days, and also in Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, etc., actually gives rise to questions such as uh, are we really following the constitution? Are we really in a country where secularism is still alive? These are the questions that come up. And also very recent, but also very an incident that actually raises a lot of questions, especially for Christians and people who stand with people from the Adivasis and people who fight for the rights of Adivasis. Father Stan has been arrested, and it looks like people have already forgotten, though that incident made headlines for a couple of days, and now he is with the NIA, and he is in the jail in Mumbai, and it looks like people have forgotten him. And let's go to our dignitaries and start our discussion with Dr. Dayal, Dr. John Dayal with us this evening, and also along with John Dayal, we also have Professor Shamsul Islam and Narendra Singh Sahu, and from our own Vishakhapatnam, Roshan Nisar. So, I welcome all of you into the program. Right. Let me start it with Dr. John Dayal. Sir, how do you look at this incident of arresting Father Stan Swami, and looking at his background of how he has been working for the betterment or the upliftment of the Adivasis in this nation, especially in the areas of Bihar and Jharkhand? It looks like the Hindutva forces are really afraid of a 84-year-old man, and when they invade his house or when they try to arrest him, all they find is an almirah and a couple of chairs. How do you interpret this incident, and why the government, who is not afraid of Pakistan, not afraid of China, ready to face both of them at a single hand, is afraid of an 84-year-old old man?
One doesn't really have to be Aristotle to see what is happening. And one doesn't really have to be a mathematician to put two and two together. I would maybe differ with you slightly on two counts.
Okay.
One is, we can't put anything in watertight compartments. We can't put minorities, tribals, dalits. You have agreed to that in your opening statement, but there's a technical issue there.
Okay.
And we cannot put politics of resources, we cannot put politics of money, what is called capitalism, and discuss this strictly as a persecution issue, as if there is persecution by a religious government of people who belong to a different religion. This is a complex matrix which has continued all through whichever was government. But now what has happened is, with Mr. Modi, with the BJP, and in fact with Atal Bihari Vajpayee, is that they have weaponized what was earlier not benign, but was something that you could challenge in courts, you could speak about in the public, you could write about it in newspapers, you could publish books about it. Now, if you do any of those things, which I could even do against Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and Shamsul Islam and I, we are old comrades for years and years and years. We fought them tooth and nail. But now, we still fight them tooth and nail, but relatives or friends of our friends are being caught. And that is the crisis, the enforced silence. So let me begin with Stan. What does Stan represent?
Okay.
He's a Catholic Jesuit priest, born in Tamil Nadu, but of the Jesuit province of Bihar, which is also now bifurcated into Jharkhand. He's a priest whose commitment as a Jesuit is to the poorest of the poor. And let's get one thing straight. He's not fighting for the uplift of the tribals. He's not saying students who are going to high school should now go to college. He's fighting for the rights to what they own. The forest, the mountain, the water, the land, which has been taken away from them by people in Korea, by people in Bombay, by people in Gujarat, by people in Washington and London. He's struggling with many others for the tribal's right to what is theirs. And the highest of what is theirs is the liberty. And that is what his struggle is. And that's why he's been trapped into this very fake conspiracy called the Koregaon case. Koregaon, as we all know, was a celebration of a victory of the untouchables, as they were called, over what was called a warrior caste. The Mahars beat the hell out of the Scindias, and Koregaon commemorates that. There's a gathering there for many years. Ambedkar was among those who revived that gathering. That is where it began. Upper caste people attacked the dalits. That's where it began. And what it has been made into some sort of a conspiracy to kill the Prime Minister of India. What a joke. But the only good thing is, in a similar conspiracy theory, people in Gujarat many years ago were picked up and shot. We know the Sohrabuddin case. Here at least they are going through a quasi-public trial, and they're catching them and putting 82-year-olds and 80-year-olds and sick people and cardiac patients in jail. But the conspiracy itself is fake. There was many editors, many forensic scientists have said this is all crap. And you're using it to target all critics, to target everybody who speaks for tribals, for dalits, for religious minorities, for Muslims, for
Okay, yeah.
media.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, Dr. Dayal. Like it is a nation of, I mean, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. It's a nation
This devil does not need an advocate.
yeah. It's a nation of 100.
Then devil is not devil.
Yeah. I understand that. It's a nation of 130 crore people, and incidents like this happen here and there. And taking these incidents that happen, like, an example of Hathras, an example of Father Stan, an example of a couple of incidents that happen in Tamil Nadu, etc., and people who are, talking against the government and the policies of the government, you deliberately are trying to color the government as if it is against the entire nation, as if it is against the truth. This is what I get to hear from our Hindutva friends. What do you have to say about that?
Who are our Hindutva friends and what do they want of this country? We have a constitution. We had a constituent assembly which discussed for 3 years in a largely Hindu situation, post-partition, what this country was to be. They reached a conclusion that this country was to be for everyone. It was not to be for one people. It was not to be for one ideology. It was not to be for one religion. And that country, that constitution have to be preserved. The people who make up government come and go. I speak against Mr. Modi. I'm going to speak now against Mr. Modi. But I don't speak against India. I don't speak against the constitution because that protects us. Speaking against the Prime Minister, speaking against the BJP, speaking against Mr. Modi is not speaking against the nation. It is not even speaking against the government. Please understand, Mr. Modi came to power not with 100% vote, not even 50% vote. Of the people who cast their votes, he got a majority. And how many people cast their vote? 60%, 65% of the eligible people. Who are the eligible people? The adults above 18. So you come down to it, Mr. Modi won by about a quarter of the total population. I'm not saying he doesn't represent all of us, but speaking against Mr. Modi, which I will continue to do because I think his ideology is satanic. It will be the ruin of India. But speaking against Mr. Modi,
those are
speaking against Mother India.
aren't they very powerful, or aren't they very hate spreading kind of words like satanic, etc.? Aren't you doing the same thing that the so-called Hindutva goons do against people who talk about democracy?
But do they use the other words I use? Do they use the word I used earlier? This is a
Please, just 1 minute, 1 minute, please, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Are we holding this session this Zoom meeting in order to clarify or clear some of the doubts of Hindutva cadres? Are we holding this meeting for
Well,
that?
no, Dr. Shamsul Islam, let me come
No,
to
I
you
will,
then.
I will not be part of this. Because you said that Hindutva cadres have been saying this. So what are you? What are you supposed to know? So we should satisfy Hindutva criminal cadres, and
No,
you do not
definitely
want us
not.
even to name as criminals.
No, definitely not. No,
You are saying
definitely not.
satanic, and you are raising all that we are using the same kind of language. Which,
But I want to. I choose my words very carefully.
Yeah.
I'm a writer. I'm a
no,
professor.
I'm not interested in this. I'm going out.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no.
I'm not interested in
No,
this.
Shamsul Saab, रुकिए, एक minute.
If
रुकिए,
Shamsul goes
please.
out, I go out.
You are
No, no,
holding
no.
it to
No, let's come to-
satisfy
let's-
the whims and the antisocial character of the Hindutva cadre. Sorry.
So yeah, let's talk there. Antisocial Hindutva. Let's talk about that. And Dr. Dayal brought up a very interesting issue about Bhima Koregaon, and he talked about in connection to that, Father Stan has been arrested, and also there are sequence or series of incidents that happened against the SC/ST OBC minority communities. So how do we connect all of this together and try to communicate to our audiences?
No, since I'm still, you have not asked me to go off, I'm here.
Yes, sir.
And you haven't named any other speaker.
Yeah.
Please understand something that I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
And do pay, I choose my words very carefully.
Yeah.
I'm a wordsmith, I'm a journalist, 51 years. I've made a living by using words. I've supported my wife, brought up one daughter, brought up one son on this alone.
Yeah.
My use of words. So do not laugh away my words, even
No.
if I use the term satanic.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to tell you was, which I began by saying was, there always was the persecution of Muslims for the last 150 years, 200 years. There was always a persecution of Christians for the last 100 years. All the laws against Christianity are 80 years old, 70 years old, 90 years old. Christians have been killed from 1950 onwards. What I'm saying is, then you could protest, you could take out a procession, you could go to court, you could speak, and nobody would call you a traitor. Now, because dissent has been criminalized, nobody can speak. People have gone into their wormholes. People have locked their doors and the ears and their eyes and are afraid to speak. That silence is what the song portrays. It cuts your tongue even as it pierces your heart. Please understand. They killed Mahatma Gandhi. He was one of their own. He wasn't very fond of Christianity. He loved Christ but disliked Christians. That is a cliche. And they killed him because he said India is secular. You don't have a right to kill Muslims. Muslims don't have a right to kill you. That's what he said. And he was killed for that. What I'm trying to tell you again and again is persecution, the exploitation of tribals, the demonization of minorities is a constant in this land of ours for 3 millennia. What changes is, how does the regime look at it? The impunity changes. Does the regime agree with the Hindutva man? Does the constable agree with the Hindutva man? Do they register the victim's complaint? Do the courts act? Or do the courts say Babri Masjid demolition was illegal, the statues were illegal, the opening of the doors was illegal, but the land will go to the Hindus? When the courts say that, when the constable doesn't catch, when the Thanedar, the SHO, the police in charge, doesn't register a complaint, when the Director General of Police looks to the Chief Minister and the Chief Minister looks to Nagpur, then we know we are in the BJP regime and not in VP Singh's regime and not in Deve Gowda's regime and not in Indra Gujarat's regime and not in a Congress regime. That is the difference. That is what I'm here to talk about. And I'm going to make the point that the persecution of Christians in violation of the law of the land is a subset of the terrorizing of all dissent to keep the resources of the land in the hands of the cronies of the regime. I'm going to trace it that way. I'm not going to say Hindus kill Muslims, Hindus kill Christians, Hindus kill Sikhs, Hindus kill Buddhists. I'm not going to say that. Who gives them the weapon is the killer.
Right, right. So your focus is on the ideology, not on the people, is what you're trying to say. Or your focus is on the ideology that drives these people and weaponizes the clashes or polarizing between the communities, and then they try to rule over it. That's what you're trying to say, and that's what I understood. Am I correct?
That is what I'm telling you. Religions don't kill. People kill. People kill. Religions can traumatize another religion. Catholicism has killed across the world. Islam has killed across the world. Protestantism has weaponized and demonized the black people's capture. Hindutva kills like that. They killed the Sikhs. They wiped out Buddhism. And that is what we are trying to say. In the hands of political controllers, anybody can kill. And we have to therefore focus on what is this ideology which makes innocent people turn murderers. Good people turn murderers. And may I correct you in your basic one, they don't flow into each other. Because the victims are Dalits does not mean they're also Christians, because the law has also been warped. A Christian who's killed is killed only as a Christian. The fact that he's a Dalit, the law.
Mr. Dal, you've gone on mute.
Yeah. So
The law does not give dual citizenship to Indian Christians. You cannot be a Dalit and a Christian at the same time. The law does not permit you. The law also does not permit the Hindu Dalit from enjoying any facilities given by law if he becomes a Muslim or a Christian. So the law, the same law that does not allow a Christian to practice his faith and his identity at the same time, also denies to the Hindu Dalit the freedom of faith, which John Dayal has. Today I'm a Christian, tomorrow I can become a Muslim or a Hindu. As much as today I'm an Indian, tomorrow I can become an American. But I can't change my skin color. I can't change my father. I can't change my mother. Certain things I can't change, certain things I can change. And that is the freedom the Constitution gives you. And that is the freedom these people try to take away. The freedom of choice, the freedom of faith.
yeah. Let me go to Narendra Singh Sahu.
Has Shamsul gone off?
Shamsul will be in a minute, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Islam has come, yeah.
Yeah. Shamsul
Yes,
साहब,
Professor
Shamsul साहब, good evening. आप नाराज हो गए मुझसे?
नहीं नाराज I see Parveen, I did not know that you are the anchor. Moreover, you know, if we are supposed to satisfy the problems of the issues raised by the Hindutva cadres, then you know 72 years of age old. Now it's too late to try to tell the truth to these criminals. Hindutva, I'll call them Hindutva criminals.
Right.
Whatever they may be saying about us, they are Hindutva criminals. They are anti-national. They are anti-social.
Right.
They killed Gandhi.
Right. So the ideology that they practice is definitely criminal, and there is no doubt about that. And from this platform, I can shout along with you 100 times and confirm with that, and I am totally in agreement with that. You know that I also say the same.
No, you need not to do that, but just don't say that John Dayal is using the same language.
No.
Also,
Yeah.
please allow me the freedom to use the words I want to. But that is what my fight with the nation is.
Right.
That's my fight with Mr. Modi.
Right.
I want to be me. I don't want to be you.
Right.
I don't want to be Mr. Modi. I almost look like him, but I don't want to be Mr. Modi. I want to be John Dayal.
Right. So sir.
And you also do not pretend to be neutral.
Yeah, I'm not.
Neutral.
I'm
to
not.
be neutral. To be neutral is running away. Sorry,
No.
Parveen. I did not know that you are. The, otherwise, I would have talked to you.
I'm
But
extremely
anyway,
sorry. I just tried to pose questions as if I'm just to be neutral to the discussion. But Shamsul Saab, thoda sa your telephone, if I mean your camera, if you can please turn it a little bit down so that we can see you well. And I would like to ask
is
a
that
question to you.
okay? Is that okay?
Yes, sir, better.
Yeah, it's better now. So I would like to ask a question to you. Recently, the riots that happened in Delhi, and there is a recently I also saw a news clip on YouTube today, actually in the morning, that the masjid that was burnt down during the riots is up, and it is rebuilt again, and the scars are still there. The masjids can be rebuilt, the places of worship can be rebuilt, but the scars in the people and the polarization cannot go away just like that. And people who shouted slogans of Goli Maro Salon ko are still roaming around on the in the streets of Delhi as if they are freedom fighters. What do you have to say about that?
No, see, again, Parveen. See, my name is Shamsul Islam, so I have to talk about this Delhi violence, and to describe Delhi violence, anti-Muslim violence, and violence to cleanse Muslim as riot is not correct terminology for that.
Okay.
That is an attempt to cleanse the Muslims in a particular area and to teach them a lesson for opposing new law, that criminal law on citizenship, the amendment. So, but what I would like also to talk about Bhima Koregaon. I also would like to talk about Stan Swami, Jesuit. Not because as personally I have been very, very close to Jesuits order. In our street theatre group, there were 3 Jesuits at one time performing.
I think they've chosen two wrong people for this discussion today.
Ji. So the issue is that unless we understand the ideology, the shift which India took under Modi, unless we discuss that, you cannot understand what is happening and what has happened in India in last 6 years. See, I would like to take you back to 1940.
Okay.
Golwalkar is addressing the cream of RSS leadership, the whole of India. 1,340 leading cadres of RSS at the RSS headquarters, Reshambagh. And just imagine what he said about what is the task of RSS. RSS, inspired by one flag, one leader, and one ideology, is lighting the flame of Hindutva in each and every corner of this great land. That is what they learned from fascism.
Right.
That is what and Hitler and Mussolini have been their favorite. Do you have time to listen to me, brother?
Yeah. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
You should never forget that by Modi's coming to power, whatever weak, infirm Indian democracy we had, polity we had, it took a very, very wrong turn. And immediately after, Modi's oath-taking ceremony, a very senior leader of RSS called me, and he said, "Islam ji, आप 1000 साल के बाद हिंदू राज आ गया है, आपको केयरफुल रहना चाहिए."
Okay.
तो मैंने कहा 1000 साल के बाद, what do you mean by 1000 साल के बाद? उन्होंने कहा कि आफ्टर पृथ्वीराज चौहान, नाउ मोदी का हिंदू राज है. और मैंने कहा yes, I know because 7th June 2013, first time in the history of Indian Republic, our top office bearer, constitutional office bearer said, I am a Hindu nationalist. I'm a Hindu nationalist. When he said Hindu nationalist means Indian nationalism goes. There is nothing like Indian nationalism. And this person also said that the person who made me into a political leader was Guru Golwalkar. So Guru Golwalkar 1940 speech, then this person is saying, my identity is Hindu nationalist identity. So we could understand that a very serious shift had taken place. But unfortunately, nobody bothered. Supreme Court did not take suo moto action. There was no stopping, blocking of the parliament sessions, and nothing happened. And it was after that a very senior RSS UP leader came out with this statement: our target is to make in India Hindu Rashtra by 2021. The Muslims and Christians do not have any right to stay here. So they would either be converted to Hinduism or forced to run away from here. And these words are picked up from the writings of Golwalkar and Savarkar, who said that Christians and Muslims cannot be recognized as Hindus. Since their adoption of the new cult, they had ceased to own Hindu civilization as a whole. They belong or feel that they belong to a cultural unit altogether different from the Hindu one. Their heroes and their hero worship, their fairs and their festivals, their ideals and their outlook on life have now ceased to be common with us. Or then Golwalkar went to the extent of saying that we must cleanse them like Jews was, like Semitic people were cleansed from Germany and Italy. This is what politics. So, but you are putting us into dock that we have to reply that what is inconvenient for I know that you did not mean that, but I felt that, right? And what I believe that whatever is happening, unless you understand the anti-national, anti-human ideology of the RSS, you make 2,000 committees, you make 2,000 Supreme Court, High Court commissions. You cannot come out of this serious situation unless you understand, unless Indian Republic decides to reject the Hindutva politics, which is against India.
Shamsul Saab, before I go to Narendra Singh Sahu Saab, I have another question for you. I understood from the statement that you read from Golwalkar's, we and nationhood, about Christians and Muslims not being part of the mainstream India and all of that, etc., etc. Okay, but what is their problem with Dalits? Why are they, deliberately or intentionally targeting Dalits?
No, it has two aspects.
Okay.
One aspect is that through their maneuvers and manipulation, Brahminical manipulation, they have co-opted lots of Dalit leadership. But only leadership co-option will not do, so Dalits are rising up. Dalits are demanding their rights. So the repression would come. Repression is bound to come. And as somebody in the beginning, I think you had said that that most of the Christians and Muslims come from Dalit stock.
Yes.
So
I said
for that reason also they are under attack. So unless you understand that Hindutva is a North Indian Brahmanical outlook, which even said that we sent Nambudri Brahmins from northern India to improve the breed of Kerala Hindus. Any person who is black, he cannot be Aryan. He cannot be Aryan. They should speak Sanskrit. You do not speak Sanskrit. So they will see. Muslims are number one under repression, are the first target, because 99% of them come from Dalit stock.
Okay.
And in the past they changed their religion and try to get social equality, for which they want to punish them. They want to teach their own Dalits that if you do it, we will do what we are doing to Muslims.
Yeah. Okay. So Narendra Singh Sahu, let me come to you, and let me pose the same question to you. Why do you think the government is so afraid of a 84-year-old man when he is, when he talks about the rights of Adivasis, when he talks about the rights of people who cannot afford 5,000 rupees for their bail, people who cannot, basically, he has been writing a lot of reports also, or people who write about him also wrote a lot of reports about people whom he defend, and the आमदनी जिसे कहते हैं, monthly revenue of most of these families is about 4,500 or 5,000. And when a person works for 50 years, 50 of his years he sacrifices just working with such communities. What is the gift that the government of India gives? Like take him and put him in the jail?
Well, okay, let me come to a few more points that you mentioned earlier. The first thing is that, when before Mr. Dayal started speaking, you mentioned that for a minority, there has been, persecution has been happening for a long time. And in all these, 130 crore people, if a few people die, so what? Well, actually, as per the statistics of persecution relief, just in the past few years, there's been more like almost 2,300 odd incidents. And that too only the ones recorded by persecution relief. Now, when we are speaking about persecution relief, even when you're looking at a democratic society, if you look at the Western world or something, even one person getting hurt or being killed in an unjust manner doesn't justify anything.
Right.
It could be that, it's as silly as saying to a lady who has got, say, 10 children and telling her, okay, if 1-2 people died of that, so what? It really matters quite a bit. And if 2,000 plus incidents happen, and there have been instances where the elected representatives of the government actually garland the perpetrators of the crime, that is really shocking. The blatant, in-your-face attitude I've never seen, and I've spent my whole life in India. I'm an Indian and I love this country. I've never seen elected representatives garland the ones who murder the minority after they come out of prison. It's unheard of, and nothing happens. Where have you heard in the world of this country? And I agree 100% with Professor Shamsul Islam. These people who killed Gandhi, and then there is this lady, again elected representative, standing in parliament and saying that Mr. Godse was a Deshbhakt, and he's not a he's a martyr sort of a thing. Unheard of, and there is no action being taken. There is no action being taken against this elected representatives at all. And here we have an 84-year-old man whose only crime was that he posted online content supporting the Adivasis, supporting the claim of the Adivasis. And in a democratic system, it is very well allowed. It is not a communist system. It is not an autocratic system. In a democratic system, I have the right to take a stand for whatever I feel I want to take a stand for. It could even be antisocial or whatever be the case, but there is you cannot just brand this guy who's made an online statement as anti-national, and that too under the UAPA Act. I hope you'll be covering that in this program. And then arrested, then his property is attached by the courts. That is shocking. I couldn't believe it. I actually read that statement a few times. Really, an 84-year-old, and literally speaking, I've read about cases where there is, if a person is in jail, and the person is nearing like the 90s, the court actually has mercy and says, okay, you can go home because you hardly have any time to live. And here this 84-year-old guy, exercising his democratic right, makes an online post, not against the country, but in support of the Adivasis, which, again, I don't think this is the right forum, but I'm sure that Professor Shamsul Islam and Mr. Dayal would agree with me, is that Adivasis are not Hindus. They are basically animists, but that's a different story.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they are not Hindus. And here we are standing
and Father Steny, he was not talking only of tribals, he was talking of the rights of under trials. You're the first person who created data that 60% of the under trials who are there languishing in jails for 5, 10, 15 years, 60% of them are Dalits, minorities, tribals.
It was his report.
Yeah.
Wow. So see, this is where it comes from, because what happens is that now when somebody is taking a stand for them, and the very strength of this system which is there prevalent in this country is the illiteracy of the people. And when somebody stands up for their rights, somebody stands up for their right to do something, to come up in life, or appeal for their rights, that can become the impetus of something much more bigger. And I believe the system is such that, as you rightly said, I was shocked when I read that statement. This gentleman, Father Stan, in his house, they found one almirah, one bed and 3 chairs. Really? and that was confiscated.
I've been to his house. I've been to his house.
So,
Even that is
Okay.
recent, yeah.
so are you saying one almirah, one bed, and two chairs actually threatened the entire
See,
nation of India?
No,
And
no, no.
one chair
They
was
want to
broken.
make
One
an
chair was broken. One chair was
The
broken.
broken. Okay. The broken chair
we don't-
threatened 56-inch Sina.
Yes, and see, the whole purpose, I believe, is that the establishment is trying to send a message that no matter who you are, no matter where you are, you speak against us, we will come after you. One thing is guaranteed: after this elections, Bihar elections, Pakistan would be scot-free. But they have made a message. They have passed on an impact on the people that in case you raise your voice, we will come after you. We will come after you. And if you remember, and if I can make a more progressive example, there is Mr. Narayan Murthy from Infosys, and his wife runs an NGO. And he earlier used to be critical about the establishment. Then his wife, even though after submitting and providing all the reports, the establishment came after her. She went on appealing. She went on, and of course, nothing came out of it because they're fairly clean people. They're very clean people. Mr. Narayan Murthy is like an epitome. And now, if you look at the tone of Mr. Narayan Murthy, is much more subdued because they know what will happen. No matter who you are, no matter you are the oldest guy and having nothing, or it could be a very rich guy knowing millions of people, it wouldn't matter. There is an example to be made. And with
Right.
regards to the Adivasis, the strength of the establishment is in illiteracy. That is why illiteracy, there is education and there is healthcare, which is even in this year's budget, the budgets have been cut down. In a country where the healthcare and the education is one of the worst in the world, you're cutting down on that budget. But you have the money to buy a swanky plane, and you have the money to set up a new Vista, like 20,000
Two
crores.
planes, brother, two planes.
Planes.
One for president, one for prime minister. $8,000
No, no.
$8,000 per plane.
Yeah, the other is for
No,
a-
8,700 crores. So that's more like more than $1 billion has been spent on that. And they have money for all this, but they have reduced the budget of education and healthcare. Why is that? In a country where even the basic necessities is not there, 20% of the world's underprivileged and below poverty line people are in this country. Why are you cutting down? Because when you keep them oppressed, when you keep them subdued, they stay in line. I believe that is the message. That
Well,
has
I'm
to
happy
pass
that,
on.
you
These
know-
people who are below cannot be allowed to come up.
Right.
I believe that's the message that wanted to go out.
Right. Well, I'm happy that people like you and all of us are talking about it. But I also have this question to Roshan Nisar. Roshan, you come from the academic background, and you're excellent in academics, and you received awards from the governor, etc., etc. And when you were studying, or when you were in the college, when I was in the college, in the Visakhapatnam area, have you ever felt such kind of discrimination? Number one. Number two, and if you have seen in the regime of UPA also. Why it is so different now? Why everybody is talking about the discrimination, talking about the persecution now? What is the difference? Do you see any difference?
Yes, the difference I see is in terms of consistency. I always tell people that when you categorize somebody by his actions, you will never be fooled by his words. Okay? Now, it is so very essential that you look at the actions of the present government and then analyze what is actually unfolding. And then it does not take an Einstein to connect the dots. Ultimately, what you subscribe to matters so much because ideas have consequences. The manner or style in which you conduct your life, the manner or style in which you deal with your fellow human being is nothing but the logical outworkings of the ideas you subscribe to. So when you look at the underpinning ideology, it does not, it does not really take very long for one to deduce where these actions are basically emanating from and what the genesis or the provenance for all of this is. Now,
So you say the ideology makes the difference.
oh yes, absolutely. See, I only would like to ask questions. The burden of proof is on the shoulders of the people who are actually pulling the strings. Why? I want to know why it is that there is so much of discrimination. Why is it that there is so much of oppression? Why is it that the cases are very different with specific individuals from specific communities. Let us take the most recent Hathras case into consideration. Now, all of us know exactly how the entire area surrounding that house was made like a fortress. Or what? Were they giving her or granting her protection? Were they granting the family protection? No. Why is it that the press was suppressed? Why is it that people from the other political parties were literally lathi charged? Why is it that they were not even given an audience with the press and with the public, who are only genuinely interested in their welfare? Do you get the point? So why? What explains this kind of dichotomy, in the way you're dealing with a specific segment of people? So what is it that you're trying to conceal? What is it you're so afraid that people will get exposed to? What is it you're trying to, conceal from being divulged? So these are questions that are raised, and these are legitimate questions. Now, having said that, I would also want to draw your attention to what, was in a way prognosticated by Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Now, it's a matter of fact. This is no, this is no secret. We all know that on the 25th of December, 1927, Baba Sahib Ambedkar burned the Manusmriti in broad daylight. Okay, and he also spoke about how this ideology can actually be detrimental to the integrity of what constitutes India. Okay, so what he prognosticated back then, seems to be unfolding now. So how come there is so much of a coincidence between what was prognosticated then and what you and I are witnessing now? This is way too coincidental to be called coincidental in the first place. So it is high time we actually got to the very crux of the matter. We delve deeper and get to the bone and gristle and see where these things are basically unfolding from. And once you start that journey, I don't think it is really, it would take us very long to get to the crux of the matter. And as Mr. Naren already stated so explicitly, it is quite obvious about what is, happening and why it is that these voices are being suppressed.
So yeah, coming to the voice suppression of the voices, let me go to John Dayal Saab once again. Dr. Dayal, suppressing of voices by putting UAPA cases against them. Especially these days, the sections of UAPA have been used or misused on people, especially in the JNU activity, in the Delhi University activity, in the Jamia Islamia activity. You take any student movement that happened, UAPA, and any journalist movement that happened, UAPA has been used. What is your comment on that?
What is the UAPA? It is the unlawful activities. What is unlawful? Who's to define? Who's to decide? They have narrowed down unlawful activity like they have defined sedition, like they have defined everything else, not as offenses against the state, but as anything that seems to target not just the government, not even the political party, but Mr. Modi. And therein lies the rub. As I told you, laws exist, and governments in the last 70 years and before them the British have used laws. We need to, again and again, and Shamsul pointed out so well, focus on how does Modi use the law as opposed to how the law should be used lawfully. Any law. We have seen the tribal laws, we have seen there's the environmental law. But when Modi wants a project, the environmental law can go take a hike. They change it overnight. You can build a road anywhere you wish to. You can remove trees, you can remove people, you can remove governments if they act against it. But that is what I was trying to say. They have hijacked the Constitution. They have hijacked the Indian Penal Code. They have hijacked every code and every law that exists in this country, which was originally designed for the welfare. Unlawful Activities Act was designed, I mean, I was opposed even then, was designed to ensure that people don't throw bombs, that every house doesn't become a a bomb factory that Khalistani movements and others, which mean no good to the people, will prosper. It was not designed to curb student unions. It was not designed to curb lawyers who take up the case of students who have been arrested. It was not designed to take on social activists and academics like Shamsul Islam and writers like me who support the people who support the trade unionist and the student. Now we are using the laws against tertiary supporters, not even the primary offenders. You talk about, you mentioned people are being lynched. I have with Harsh Mandar gone to almost every house where people were lynched for carrying beef. What was the common thread apart from the fact that they were lynched? The common thread was A, the police refused to take action. B, they filed cases against the relatives of the murdered person. What do you see in Hathras? Who is the NIA or the CBI or whatever? Who are they interrogating? Not the
Family.
chief minister. They're interrogating the relatives of the dead.
Isn't it
Why
amusing?
should they be? The girl died and in a dying declaration said, these people gang raped me. You don't need a swab if you could have taken a swab from a pile of ashes. What are they trying to do? It's not even a red herring. It's a stinking, blinking hijacking of the law, throwing chilies in our eyes, fooling the world. But let me assure you, they're not fooling anyone. They're not fooling anyone at all. And that is what they fear. Despite, and you've seen the crescendo, how they ratcheted up the program, how they're designing all sorts of things, because people are not believing anymore. We see on day one of COVID lockout, on the second week, we saw people clap, we saw people light candles. Now they will mock you. Even his support base is shrinking, and that will scare anybody. That scared Mussolini, he ran. That scared Hitler, he committed suicide. And all the paper pot, tin pots in Latin America and elsewhere. He is scared because the writing is on the wall. You will see more terror. You will see police acting more brutally. This is the last flicker. I tell you that.
Yeah, so Professor Shamsul Saab, so hearing what Dr. Dayal is saying, what should be our, what do you think that we should be prepared of, or we should be prepared with? For example, if this continues, like putting cases or filing cases against journalists, against students, against student leaders, against academicians like you, against activists like Dr. Dayal, etc., to silence the smaller voices. And the media seems not to be siding us at all. The media seems not to be giving a platform at all. But in such cases, in the future, as Dr. Dayal is is alarming that things will be more brutal and the systems will actually be more brutal in the future. How do you think that we as citizens should be prepared?
Yes, dear Paveen, it is not only repression, repression you can always face, you can fight legally, you can fight on the road, but what's happening on the policy level, that has more serious repercussions for Indian Republic. But just let me, before I come down to this point, let me just touch two issues. One is this Bhima Koregaon thing.
Okay.
Huh? Bhima Koregaon thing, there are people under terror law who did not participate, who opposed the celebration of Bhima Koregaon. And one of the persons is one of the greatest Dalitology expert, who also happens to be a Dalit, Anand Teltumde. Anand Teltumde from very beginning has been opposed to that kind of celebration. He said that celebrating the British victory is an insult to Dalit Andolan, but still he is there. And for what crime? That somebody was sleeping with a letter उसके तकिए के नीचे कि मोदी जी को मारना है. वो अपने तकिए के नीचे चिट्ठी रखकर सो रहा था और उसकी चिट्ठी वो रिसीव हो गई और उस चिट्ठी में then he was investigated. उसने इन सब का नाम ले दिया.
Don't you think they should have changed the script a little bit? Isn't it too obvious?
नहीं, उनको बॉम्बे का थ्रिलर से कुछ अच्छा कर ले, सलीम जावेद को कुछ बात कर लेना चाहिए था,
Yeah.
वो ज्यादा ऑथेंटिक दे देते,
थोड़ा रोमांचक
right?
स्क्रिप्ट तो मिल जाता.
हाँ, वो मिल जाता. तो ये बड़ा अजीबोगरीब है. और while talking of Stani Saab, our Jesuit friend, don't forget about Varva Rao. What is happening? How old he is? What he has done? He has written poems. He has joined dharnas against terror of the state and other things. So and our Delhi University Angrez English lecturer. He has disabilities, almost 80% disabilities. He's put in a under cell, in an isolated cell. He cannot stand by himself. He's not being allowed any help. But I would like to draw your attention to a more serious issue. Are you bothered about new education policy to 2020?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, repression may be faced legally outside and other things. But what would happen when you destroy the intellectual wealth of India? Intellectual wealth जो उनका बौद्धिक संपदा है, जो बौद्धिक संपदा है, आप उसको पूरा खत्म कर देंगे. What is new economic policy? New economic policies is कि only those will go for higher education who can finance. अगर रिच लोगों को अगर उनका फाइनेंस का नहीं होगा तो हम लोन दिलाएंगे, हम उनको लोन दिला देंगे. और those who cannot join that stream, उनको हम वोकेशनल ट्रेनिंग कराएंगे, उनको हम क्या करेंगे, ऑनलाइन उनका एजुकेशन कराएंगे ताकि वो वोकेशनल काम कर ले. देयर विल बी नो रिजर्वेशन. और 2000 का जो रिपोर्ट है, बिरला अंबानी रिपोर्ट, उसमें कहा गया है कि all political parties will agree absolutely there will be no politics in campuses. That is what Modi and this Amit Shah, this gang is doing. What is happening in JNU, what is happening in Jamia, and or what is happening in other universities is the same, that Indian campuses would create human wealth for capitalists. The 2000 report very clearly says that human wealth is more important than the physical wealth. So all these young people have to be treated as a human wealth, and human wealth required by American corporates, by British corporates, or Indian corporates. So
a new breed of indentured labor.
And India returning back to Guru Dronacharya times, that the best person would be disabled.
Yeah,
the best of the archers would be disabled. They will not be allowed to compete. You know, that was the reason. And this comes out of Manu Smriti, our friend, this leader who got recognition from governor. I think whatever he's speaking, soon they are going to take back his whatever certificate they given to him.
They can't take my knowledge back though.
26 November 1949, Indian Constituent Assembly passed the Constitution of India. 4 days after that, RSS organizer comes out with an NAD tutorial. We reject it. We want Manu Smriti. And I think I need not to waste your time by quoting some of the verses, decrees about women, Hindu women, decrees about Shudras. Chapter 1, chapter 8, chapter 9. You download from there.
Let them look at it themselves. Don't read it out here.
Yeah. And so, that also reminds me, Professor Saab, that what Tilak said at the time of Mecaulay's education policies, and at the time of when education was brought up and people were given right to vote and people were given right to get into parliament. Tilak was saying the same thing as the education policy that we see today. Why don't we just train them in vocations such as, mending shoes, vocations such as they should make pots and they should braid hairs, and etc., etc. What will they do when they get into parliament is what he questioned.
प्रवीण, ये मैकाले अभी आ जाए ना तो वो शर्म से सुसाइड कर लेगा इस सब को देखकर कि even he did not mean that.
Yeah,
You know, I want to tell you something.
Yeah.
If you give me a minute.
yeah.
Some years ago, before Mr. Modi came to power, I was in an international conference where there were Pakistani intellectuals, Pakistani generals, and policemen and others around. And one of them told me, do you know, sir, the generals, the police collectors, and all of them are people, they have studied on a curricula which was created after partition to create a new Pakistan. They don't know anything that you're talking about. They don't know the Buddhist history. They don't know pre-independence comment. They don't know Bhagat Singh. And they've been taught hate. I hope you will never come to that. Today we are coming to that. Samshul just told you about the other aspects. But let me tell you, who are they going to sponsor? Schools and colleges will have committees of which the local RSS will be a part. As it is, they're running almost a lakh of schools, Hekal schools and the Vidyarthi schools in forests and all that, where nobody knows what they're teaching. No curricular review, no nothing. You can imagine a whole generation or two will be born and bred with poison in their heart and nothing in their bed. What will they come to? What this new education policy, and I've written a book on it, will do, it will take 3 generations to undo. Remember that. It is, don't take the NEP 2020 lightly. It is as vicious as UAPA, if not more. UAPA arrests and incarcerates and kills in jail the present. 2020 NEP will kill the future.
Okay, yeah, that's really thought provoking. And Roshan, since you come from the training and education background, before I go to Naren, I would like to stop at you and ask you, you know, if you happen to read the new education policy and you know, understand how, and also if you can connect the dots, like government setting up a committee to write their own history or rewriting the history of say few thousands of years from now, and do you see any connectivity how the you know, mass brainwashing is planned by the government? Do you see it? Do you smell anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. See, I won't be able to get into the very, minute detail of it all, but if you look at it superficially, you will see certain highlights. Number one, you see a conscious effort to suppress certain areas and highlight only those areas that are favorable. Now, that is a very biased or prejudiced approach towards history or reality. Now, as a matter of fact, history has to be unfolded objectively. People have to be exposed to the entirety of it all, so they see things as they were. Now, when you make a conscious effort to, to deliberately suppress certain evidences and then express something else, and then also interweave your own biased, contorted, or distorted ideology, then that is definitely sounding the death knell. For instance, you see this, this thought which is being sprayed across, and I, have come across this so very often in my talks with the Hindutva groups, where they tout Godse as a great patriot. How in heaven's name is a man even a patriot? Okay, so, this kind of nonsense, which is peddled off under the guise of intellect, is unpardonable. So, obviously, there are again questions raised as to why it is that you want to deliberately suppress certain areas and highlight or amplify certain other areas. Why do you want to rewrite things? Why not let things be the way they are? Because history is what it was. It's as simple as that. So the very fact that you are trying to interweave your own hidden agenda goes on to expose your ulterior motive.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
So Naren, again, you know, you mentioned about UAPA earlier, and I just skipped that from you and went to Dr. Dayal. Like in Bombay right now, Father Stan is arrested and he is in your area, in Bombay area, and people who do you see the same connection? I mean, I was talking to a couple of a couple of Hindutva Hindu people who come from Hindutva background who are into journalism, and they were equating the same thing. Like they are asking a question like this to me, and let me put that question to you. Why do you shout when Father Stan is arrested, and why don't you shout when people like Arnab Goswami is silenced? So do you at least see any connectivity between those two? Are they things to be paralleled at all?
Okay, now first things first. Actually, what has been happening? The first fallacy which I see in this is that it's the fallacy of whataboutery, which is I believe this Hindutva people should need at least a basic course in what is logic all about. So simply speaking, that you screamed for this and not for that. What about that? It's basically whataboutery. So at best, you're proven that both the incidents are wrong. It doesn't make one right because the other thing also happened. Now, with regards to Arnab, that is happening now. First of all, he's not been arrested under UAP, and that's the problem with it. So if he has been asked to come across for justifying, but even in that case, I don't see, because Father Stan just made some online post supporting the Adivasis. And what Arnab did, I don't know where to start rather. Anyway, that said, UAPA is, first of all, just to give a brief intro, UAPA is not a new act. It is something that has been there since 1967, if I'm not mistaken.
That's Congress baby. That is Congress baby.
Yes. So it is. So and parallel to that, there was the NSA, and before that, there was the Sedition Act. The Sedition Act is more than like almost like a century here, and that has been like one of the gifts from the British. And incidentally speaking, Praveen, you would be surprised to hear that the UK Parliament in 2009 stuck off the sedition law because it was totally against democratic values. But India has still retained it. It is as what you can see like happening in the corona, where China infected everybody and now they are sitting pretty with everything is fine. So now the UK, the British, government infected India with the sedition law, and now they are sitting pretty by revoking the law. But here we see there is absolutely no qualms in using it for for suppressing the voice of dissent. If you do a basic search from 2016 to 2018, for all the people that were arrested, only like 30% were any sort of conviction or any sort of action taken. Rest, all of them were let off. There was the problem with the UAPA is that you don't even need to file a charge sheet for the first 6 months. And that makes the worst part, because then it strikes everybody. It can be somebody who's rich, well off and connected. It can also be somebody who's very poor and not connected. Because let's assume there is one person who is very rich and well taken care of and all those things, and he comes under the UAPA Act. Charge sheet is not filed. What is he going to protest again? Because even the charges are not known. So what on earth are you going to refute? So for the first 6 months, you are in jail. You can't even go to the judiciary because there is no charge sheet being filed, there is no case being filed, and you are just sitting pretty in jail for 6 months, and after that you'll be let off without an apology, anything. You are just out, and then you can just keep coming like after every week. You just like what you saw in the Riya Chakrabarti case or whatever, so many other things that is happening.
Kafil Khan, Dr.
Kafil Khan sir. Yeah.
I heard him also. That's shocking. And now even this lady in the Shaheen Bagh protest, she's pregnant and you put her in jail.
The journalist.
Can you
Jogger.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sophia Zargar.
Yes. Thank you, Professor, for reminding me. Yes, the name is so shameful. It's actually a blot on this beautiful country of ours. It's actually a blot, and no one is talking about it. And she is in jail. She is expecting a baby. She is not a terrorist. She is not thrown bombs. She's not killed anybody. She's not cheated anybody. She just sat to protest, and she's come under this thing. And what have we come to? And here we have, as I said, I cannot get over it, where this lady who's a terror accused stands up in Parliament because she's a member of Parliament, and says Godse is a Bhakt. And the one who's, supposed to be the flag bearer of nationalism in this country nowadays, and he says, without taking any action, without even a slap on the wrist, he says, I will never be able to forgive her. Really? I was like, is this what our country has come to? And we never, for all that we, scoff the West that they don't have any cultural values or anything, we never, at least for me, I've never heard, maybe Professor Samshul can guide me on that, but I've never heard anybody in America saying that the one who shot Abraham Lincoln is not a terrorist. He is actually a freedom fighter. No one. But here we have it in broad daylight and nothing happens. So that is what the problem with UAPA is, because there is zero accountability. It reminds me, Mr. Dayal can perhaps expound on it more, but this is my personal feeling that I see a very close parallel between what is happening in India now and what has already happened in China. And you see similar actions being taken by the People's Party, of which, Xi Jinping is now there, and they have been in power for more than 4 decades now. And this is the very thing that they have taken. They have quelled and they have suppressed all voices of dissent. They have ensured that the opposition never is able to even lift its head. Every single person who raises voice, who says anything, just disappears, and you can say whatever you want. That's blatant in your face. Do whatever on earth you want to do. We will do what we want to do. And that is basically what I see. This is my opinion again. Perhaps, as seniors are there, they'll be in a position to speak better. But I see a very close parallel between what is happening in India and what is already seen in China. And I believe, as Mr. Dayal also said so well, that is, they are like mimicking the fascism. They hold Adolf Hitler and Stalin in very high regard, and Govalkar and Savarkar, and the rewriting of history, because there is a lot of evidence which even says that Savarkar was actually in favor, and I've read some writings of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, where he is saying that people like Savarkar and all are in favor of piling up to the Britishers and coming to a sort of a compromise. And Subhash Chandra Bose is saying that we should not have any compromise with the British. And here we have parties actually glorifying them. Sorry, yes, Professor.
No, you're right. See, Savarkar, Hindu Mahasabha under Savarkar's leadership recruited 1 lakh Hindus into the British army when Netaji was trying to liberate India.
And there is no word about that. There is monuments.
Nobody talks of that, but he remains Savarkar remains the nationalist.
Yes, and whole party's beliefs are based on the writings of somebody like a Savarkar, who's written innumerable letters for pardon when he was there in
Seven.
So, and here we have it, and here we are holding them in high regard. And as Roshan said very, very well, the rewriting of history. And I believe there is a long-term view. That's what I very strongly believe. There's a long-term view based on what we see in China. It is not about the aspirations of one person, because there is a long-term view. When you rewrite history, there is a long-term view. And as Roshan said very well, history should be, and we see that happening everywhere in the West, because whatever happened in the past, like as Mr. Dayal also said very well, that is about, the operation of the blacks or whatever happened, or, that the operation done by the Catholics and all, nobody tries to hide it. There is public debates that is happening. There is discussions that is happening. There are books being written, and it's discussed openly as to what can be done so it doesn't happen again.
Okay. Yeah. And yesterday, Professor Shamshul, before I give for the final remarks of Dr. John Dayal, I would like to stop at you and ask you this particular question. Yesterday, we were having a debate here in the same channel in Telugu language, and when we were discussing, I was not anchoring the show. I was part of the delegation, just like you were. And when I brought up the issues, most of the issues that we have discussed here, the opponent who presented his views from the Hindutva background, VHP background, actually, he said, what about Kashmiri Pandits? What about, why don't you guys talk about Kashmiri Pandits? Why don't you guys talk about cow slaughtering?
Right.
Why don't you talk about Lakshmanananda in Odisha. Why don't you talk? You know, he actually brought up a list of events that happened, and you know, of course, in Telugu language we gave him the answers that we could. But this isn't this the scenario that the national media actually
brother
Yeah.
brother Parveen,
yeah
ब्रदर परवीन, वो जो सवाल आपसे पूछ रहे हैं
जी.
और who is the anchor, even if you are there, you must ask them the reverse question that why did not you issue a statement in support of Stani? Why did not you issue a statement in support of the victims killed, burnt alive by Dara Singh? See, this kind of thing ना, ये इसको हम लोग दिल्ली में बोलते हैं चाय खाने वाला बातचीत, टाइम पास ना. It has nothing, but of course, you know, we must understand that IT cell in charge of Madhya Pradesh, BJP, he said, and his face page has he's गले मिल रहा है मोदी से, वो एक एयरपोर्ट में अकेला, ये दो ही लोग हैं. बिल्कुल वो जो है उसका जो फेसबुक पेज है, वो he wrote a WhatsApp message कि those who want to know what is the status or what is the greatness of Godse, we should auction his revolver and the money which it will fetch, and of course it may fetch 1 billion rupees. I think Ambanis would pay that. Ambanis would buy that, huh?
okay.
That kind of debate, you know, that coming back to Kashmir, it is a 200% lie that only Kashmiri Pandits came out of Kashmir Valley. Thousands and thousands of Muslims came, Hindus came, Sikhs came, right? Did anybody, any RSS cadres even do not bother about to talk that Hindus were also were forced. How many secular Muslim, very close friends of mine were killed by the people who might have been working for the Indian intelligence agency also, or Pakistani intelligence agency. You know, in Kashmir it is very difficult to know who is working for whom. Who is working for whom. So, another thing, I wish if you have time, you know, a debate, I entered into a debate with one Pandit, Rahul Pandita.
Okay.
Rahul Pandita, after UP chief ministers coming to power, he wrote up his now communist and liberals have to be careful. अब हिंदुत्व resurgence हो रहा है, और he quoted so many documents कि ये कम्युनिस्टों ने ये किया, वो किया, liberals ने ये किया, okay, and कश्मीरी पंडित के साथ क्या हुआ. So I reminded him, his was a long piece in Op magazine, that's RSS magazine or something like that. So my reply, they did not, but that is available on the net. I told him, in the history of India, these were the only migrants who were provided shops in Connaught Place. They were given scholarships. In Delhi University and Indian University, there is a 1% reservation for Kashmiri displaced persons. So if you are a Pandit, then you will have all these things. That is very bad. That should never have happened. But to say that something happened with the Brahmins, with the Pandits only, which did not happen with anyone. Who are these people? These workers, hundreds of them were killed while going back to their. They were also migrants. Did anybody care about them? So
there is no data also available. Government says
there is no data.
How many people died?
No, they died. Forget about who
suffered. Yeah,
that kind of like. So they are so bothered about Brahmins. They are so bothered about Brahmins that Golwalkar wrote that even Kerala Brahmins race breed had to be upgraded. So Nambudiri Brahmins were sent there. So you know that kind of thing. But if you give me 2 minutes,
please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Raise two issues.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Is that be okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, take mine 2 minutes, no problem.
Acha, thank you. Have you seen a signed piece by Giulio Roberto about after 11 months of Modi's coming to power?
Yeah. Yes.
It come in the papers, yeah.
Shall you allow me to read
Yes,
3 or
yes.
4 sentences
Yes.
from his letter,
Yes,
from
sir.
his piece?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Today in my 86th year, I feel threatened, not wanted, reduced to a stranger in my own country. The same category of citizens who had put their trust in me to rescue them from a force they could not comprehend have now come out of the woodwork to condemn me for practicing a religion that is different from theirs. I am not an Indian anymore, at least in the eyes of the proponents of the Hindutva Rashtra. It is coincidence or well thought out plan that the systematic targeting of a small and peaceful community should begin only after the BJP government of Narendra Modi came to power last May. Ghar Wapsi, the declaration of Christians at Good Governance Day, the attack on Christian churches and schools in Delhi all added to a sense of siege that now afflicts these peaceful people. और उनका जो एंड है आर्टिकल का वो मैं आपको पढ़कर सुनाता हूँ. And he could see what Hindutva forces are going to do. The Christian population, a mere 2% of the total populace, has been subject to a series of well-directed body blows. If these extremists later turn their attention to Muslims, which seems to be their goal, they will invite consequences that this writer treats to imagine. RSS wants to force India into a civil war. They want to force it into a civil war. And their planning is very clear. Immediately after independence, they try to destabilize India by killing Gandhi. In the name of cow, they surrounded, they encircled parliament, and Congress president's house was burnt on Parliament Street. We know all this. So they are master conspirators. They will. Brahmanism survives when people are divided. That is their politics, and unfortunately. And fortunately for the Hindutva, Hindutva project have financiers. In Pakistan, Islamism, the project of Islamism died because there were no financiers. Here there are financiers, Ambani, Adani. So it will continue for very, very long time. And I'll finish by what recently that historian Ramchandra Guha wrote. I'll end with that. Of course, I also wanted to talk of Bishop John Joseph, who committed suicide, and the issues we raised, that what was happening in Pakistan, and that is happening in India also. There's the last part of article. Benito Mussolini and his fascists thought they would rule Italy forever. Narendra Modi and the BJP think likewise. These fantasies of eternal rule will not come to fruition. But so long as the present regime remains in power, it will continue to extract a horrendous cost in economic, political, social and moral terms. Italy took decades to recover from the ravages of Mussolini and his party. India may take even longer to recover from the ravage of Modi and his party. RSS chief, he had the cheek to say that lynching is a Christian concept. Rape is a Christian concept. And this country tolerated that. This country accepted that. So the crimes of journalists like Republic TV are far more serious. And in fact, they should be disbanded. They should be sent to some zoo where human children come and see that what kind of creatures in human beings should not have. They should be left in the zoos. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just one thought, Praveen, just to add one, if I may take just 60 seconds to what Professor Samshul said, is that, of course, for the Kashmiri Pandits, yes, that what I say to everybody that happened was very bad, and the government has taken steps to do something about it. But the question is, what happened to the victims of Kandamal? In 2009, thousands were raped, killed, destabilized, chased into the forest. Even now, till this day, 11 years down the line, they cannot return to their home, to their own land that has been taken over, encroached. There is no one talking about it. No one. There is no media interview. There is nobody discussing, nobody saying what about. Not even the Christians say, what about the Kandamal people? There has been kangaroo courts in place. How many people got accused? And it was heart rending. I can't get over those statements in the newspapers where orphans from orphanages were raped and then burnt alive, and that girl, I can't get it out of my consciousness. So she's saying, why did they do this to me? Why did they do this to me? An orphan girl living in an orphanage, a Christian orphanage, was dragged out, gang raped, and burnt alive. And no one is talking about it. And I'm not saying if you're talking about Kashmiri Pandits, then what about Kandamal? I'm saying that happened was wrong. But the government did something about it, as so well Professor Samshul spoke. But what about the Kandamal?
And what about the victims of the armed forces? Armed forces special
ASPA. ASPA Act. Yeah, there is nothing. ASPA Act, and that lady, that iron lady, I believe, right? 45 years something, she was on fast or something, right? And
we do not equate two wrongs. They equate two wrongs.
Yes, and they say this wrong, that wrong, so both are right. Doesn't make it. It's not like minus plus minus is equal to a plus. No, it doesn't work. Not even in maths it works. And this EPS they're saying about it, they're talking about it in real life. I'm sorry, I just butted in, but I just had to add that. Sorry, please carry on.
Yeah, well, thank you. Kind of time to wrap up. So let me give a couple of minutes to each of you just to wrap up with your concluding remarks, and start with Dr. Dayal. Dr. Dayal, looks like I'm not again going back to the communities and voices in the communities, etc. But I'm speaking in general. As you said, a Christian is a Christian. He's not a scheduled caste. A scheduled caste is a scheduled caste. He's not a Christian, and there is a technical difference within the law, is what you said. But coming to that, taking that.
Kindly do not misquote me. You don't have to quote me, but do not misquote me. Can I conclude in my own words?
Yes. Let me put this question, and then you conclude. What about the voice that that these communities should have? For example, an SC community should have its own voice, and who gives that voice? Why the government is not giving proper channel for them to voice out?
Let me first begin by telling you, you have on this panel Shamsul Islam, the world's biggest authority on the RSS. Full stop. No bigger than him. He writes from the original documents of the RSS, and the RSS can't hide those documents from him. 2, please read what I write also before you make any statements. When you say nobody is talking about Kandamal, I was there from 26 December 2007, and I'm there today. So let us not go down that road. On the Dalit question, what I said was in context of what you said. You said they are substitutes, and I'm telling you again that the struggle for Dalit rights, for people who are Christians now, but trace their roots to the former untouchables, is going on in court. I am before the court as a former president of the Catholic Union, fighting that struggle. We have been agitating on the ground day in, day out, decade in, decade out, for I don't know how many years, since 1990. It doesn't impact me personally. 3, where do we go from here? It is very simple. Unless the Christian, entitled Christian particularly, makes common cause with everybody else, the Muslim, Islamophobia is as rampant in Christianity as in Hinduism. We have to give up that. Make common cause with the Muslims. Casteism is as rampant. It took the church 40 years to be united to back the Dalit Christian, because the Syrians and others and the Pentecostals say there's no caste in Christianity, and they're right and they're wrong. Common causes, alliance building is the route to go. Self-righteousness, words do not help. Denying other people's work does not help. Reinventing the wheel does not help. All of us stand on the shoulders of giants. There's a body of legal work. There's a body of constitutional activism. There's a body of people like Stan who have given their lives. I've also done a little work. Shams has done a little work. We need to build alliances, be together with each other. As I began by saying, as you have said, as everybody else has said, this cannot last forever. The day shall come again. Please remember, Atal Bihari Vajpayee was invincible. His own supporters don't remember him. Remember that. Ultimately, even the supporters fight shy, and they will.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Dayal, for that clarity and clarity in thought. And we will definitely recommend the books and the writings that you've done. And I agree with you on the comment about
50
Professor
years
Islam.
of writing, 50 years
Yeah.
is not a small time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you on the writings of Professor Islam, and I've read a lot of them. In fact, almost all of them. And I have a library in which almost all the books that Professor Islam wrote are with me. So thank you very much.
After me, you have the largest collection of Hindutva literature.
Probably Naveen and I, we cherish your writings, and we keep them with us in our library, both hard copies and the soft copies that you provided us with. So so Roshan, your concluding remarks for the for a couple of minutes, please.
As a wise saying goes, the world suffers not so much because of the violence of bad people as it does because of the silence of good people. So
Very
it is
good,
imperative,
very good.
in my opinion. Thank you, Professor Islam. So, in my opinion, it is absolutely imperative that there be more such sessions, that there be more such fora, particularly in universities, particularly among the intellectual communities. There ought to be debate. And if I were to take us back to the traditional philosophy of this land, this land actually believes in debate. If you look at the forms of debate, we have Vada, we have Samvada, and then of course you have Jalpa and Vitanda, which are the negative forms of debate. And what pains me is that our government, the current ruling government, seems to be taking recourse to Vitanda, which is the worst form of debate according to the Indian philosophy, rather than take recourse to Vada. So, in my opinion, more of these programs, ought to be conducted, and intellectuals like Professor Islam and Dr. Dayal should be, invited, and there ought to be a dissemination of correct information, so people may take well-informed decisions. Okay, so a well-informed decision can be taken only when one has holistic information. It's only when one has a holistic understanding of what actually transpired, the way it transpired. Let people draw their own inferences, but for them to be able to draw their own inferences at stage one, they must be provided with ample evidence. And that is not going to happen with the hidden agenda of the current ruling government.
Yeah.
There is open agenda now, no hidden agenda.
Yeah.
Right, it is very open. Yeah, I agree with you on that as well. And over to you, Naren. And why don't you, Naren, also touch base on the points that we initially started with, the atrocities against the SC, ST, OBC and minority communities, and what should the communities be prepared with?
Oh man, okay, that's okay. First things, I would like to start by an apology to Dr. Dayal. Actually, I didn't mean to say that even he is not actually, he is one of the most vocal voices in the Christian community. And as much as people try to, put him down and stuff, but what I meant with due respect to Dr. Dayal is that the rest of the community, I have seen even Christians have forgotten about the Kandamal incident. So I was referring to that. So my apologies on that. Okay. Now coming to the next point, I would agree again.
No, I didn't take that personally from you. What I meant was, Kandamal continues to separate.
Right.
It's a wound to the heart. Nobody will forget it.
Brother John Dayalji, you are going?
I have to have another seminar.
I must thank these people that we are meeting through them. Thank you, comrade, and take care. अपना ध्यान रखो और ज़्यादा वजन कम मत होने दो.
Take care, sir. God bless you, Mr. Dayal. So I would again stick with what Dr. Dayal said, which I believe is one of the very weakest point in our community, which is that there is a utter lack of unity. That is, this is that denomination, this is my church, that is their church. I was there in a very recent debate, again a televised debate, where one of the professors, one of the pastors even said that my church was being destroyed in North India. And there were Christians living close by, but nobody came to help when the RSS attacked. The reason being, we don't go to that church. We don't see that happening in any community. We are one, and I would again come back to Dr. Ambedkar, the great Dr. Ambedkar, where he said that as again what even Dr. Dayal said now is that we do not have a common cause, and even coming forward in politics, we somehow put it as it is of this world, and it is too much. We are too much in the heavenly aspect. And this worldly, and it is satanic and stuff like that. There is no representation in the due representation in the parliament, like how Muslims have Mr. Owaisi is there. We don't have any voice in the parliament. We have no interest in coming in public discourse or any sort of parliament representation. So that is something which I believe the community seriously needs to focus about. And coming to the atrocities on the Dalits and the scheduled caste, that is beyond words actually what is happening. And I'm sure that you would be aware of the statistics that India is the world's largest slave market as of now, because of these scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, their atrocities that is happening. And I believe it is happening, if I might say it in a very cutting through manner, which I find it very hard to digest, but it's a hardcore fact, is that people somehow take it as a right. Because of this wretched, karma system, this karmic system which is there. So the upper caste feel it's the right to oppress and rape and mutilate and, keep them suppressed, the lower caste, because it is a part of the karmic outworking.
That's a divine job, divine responsibility given to them.
You took the words from my heart, Professor Islam. I didn't know whether I should put it in as many words. Thank you for saying that. They take it as a divine, commandment given to them that they should go. I cannot even imagine them thrashing this poor Dalit when this lynching thing happened. Thrashing because they were carrying a dead cow. Their job was to clean human excreta and to take care of these dead animals. They were taking away a dead cow and they were thrashed with bamboo sticks. And those people who were thrashing, they were enjoying it. What sort of human beings are these? And they are actually enjoying. Police is standing and watching. And what is this country coming to? I'm not saying that it never used to happen in the earlier establishment, but now it has got a stamp of approval, and they know that they'll get away with, literally daylight murder. When I think it is Muzaffarnagar, I guess, that state, that place where the police station in charge was literally executed with his own pistol, with his own gun outside.
Bulandshahr. That was Bulandshahr.
Sorry, yeah. Where he was executed, and that guy who shot him got bail. He got bail. Which country does this happen?
He's a BJP office bearer. BJP office bearer now.
Man, see, this literally raises the hair on the back of my head that what is this country coming to? And there is no UAPA, there is nothing being applied, and they literally get off with daylight murder. He was executed. A police guy executed outside of his police station with his own gun gets bail. I'm at a loss of words. And here it is basically, you toe the line with the establishment. Everything is fine. You come against us, no matter where you are, no matter who we are, we will get you. And now we have the law on our side, and you can do basically whatever you want. And the atrocities, I don't believe that will ever go down. What will go down, and I mark my words, my friend, I'm telling you, is the reporting will go down. The atrocities will not go down.
No,
The reporting, the documentation, the help that goes to them will go down. For one Hathras case, how many thousands must have got raped? I read the statistics, 32,000 raped every year. How many got justice? Who were they? From where were they? Most of them were from the Dalit class. One got highlighted because of the sheer blatant way of working. That okay, they even burned the body, and now they are giving excuses, and nobody is worried, and now they're talking about a CBI inquiry. What CBI inquiry are we talking about?
Right.
And I'd never seen such support for anti-national, anti-social, and anti-human activities in the earlier establishments. They were there, and as God is my witness, we even spoke about it at that time because Kandamal happened during the Congress rule, which is something which is unforgettable. So it is not that whatever happened in the Congress rule was fine and what BJP said is very wrong. But this is something that, and that is where the importance of these forums and people like, Professor Shamsul Islam and Dr. Dayal and all who actually go out and do the research, like with a devil may care attitude, they know that there could be some horrible outcomes. And really, salute to you, Professor Islam, for taking the, flag bearer on this very difficult road ahead. We don't know where it will be heading.
Yet we have done nothing, brother. Naren, we have done nothing.
Yeah.
You've done quite, it is really something. When Praveen told me that Professor Islam would be there, I couldn't believe my ears. I said, is it Professor Shamsul Islam? He said, yeah, it is same Professor Shamsul Islam.
We have done nothing, brother. we have done nothing.
Yeah, with that note, let me come to Professor Islam for his final remarks. And why don't you also touch base upon how the system is validating the caste system, how the system, the government establishment is validating the killing of Dalits, especially by giving them the political voice in the name of Akhila Bharatiya Kshatriya Mahasangh and coming out, taking out rallies in the favor of people who raped, rallies in the favor, going and meeting people inside the jail and having a cup of tea. And even in the incidents of Kuldeep Sengar, the same thing happened, and still the people are willing to believe. I don't know how to put, how to actually understand this scenario. But would you like to throw some light on that and conclude?
Brother, there is nothing hidden. They are brazenly, they are naked, without clothes, and they do not bother. They, their fascist outlook that Hindutva needs totalitarianism, that is very clear. I quoted 1940 statement and the guru of Modi ji, and just I'll quote Hitler after capturing Germany, all foras of the government and judiciary and everything. He's addressing 1 million, almost 1 million gathering, right? Nothing makes me more certain of the victory of our ideas, that is fascism, than our success in the universities. What Hitler is telling, that since we have captured universities, since we have captured intellectual forums, there is no, our victory is ensured, right? So, Hindutva, they have taken oath under liberal democratic constitution, but they have also said that we are RSS members. And that means they will put into practice the Manusmriti, and Manusmriti also not for South Indian Brahmins. Manusmriti will take care of the world view of the Brahmins of North India. That should be very clear to us. And the other thing is, unless we know the philosophy of these criminals, and that philosophy is brazenly fascist. See, Brahmanism or Manusmriti is the original fascism. India, with their coming to power, India does not need that what went wrong to know about Hitler and Mussolini. In fact, today, if Hitler and Mussolini are born today, they will be student in some RSS Shaka. They will sit in the RSS Shaka, right? This is this social fascism is the original thing, and I think we have discussed so many things, and I must congratulate your TV, Rakshana TV, and all friends who have joined. I never thought that Paveen is the anchor, and then I never thought that we would have such fruitful and important thing. And Roshan, this young scholar Roshan and Naren, first time we are exchanging so much, and then brother John Dayal was there. I would just end by reminding you of a martyrdom of Bishop John Joseph. You know, he was a great friend of mine, very close friend of mine. He was fighting for the persecuted Christian minority. और मैं आपको बताऊंगा नहीं क्रिश्चियंस के साथ क्या हो रहा था कि if a Muslim जमींदार landlord wants to capture land of a Christian person, so उनको वो क्या करेंगे कि ये बोलेंगे कि इनका फैमिली ने ये मस्जिद पर प्रॉफिट मोहम्मद का इंसल्ट का लिख दिया। और जिसको वो केस कराएंगे वो बच्चा खागा नहीं जानता, एबीसीडी नहीं जानता, अली बेपे नहीं जानता है, लेकिन उसको फिर वो फांसी के सजा के लिए चला जाएगा। सो ये जब वो बहुत परेशान हो गए जॉन जोसेफ, तो ही ऑर्गेनाइज्ड अ रैली, और 6 मई 1998 को Montgomery, when he was leading the rally in the front, he shot himself dead. But before that, 6 or 7 days before that, he had written a letter to his friends throughout the world. I also received one of those. See, he ended his letter with what? I'm reading that. Please listen it carefully, brothers. The first victim of the fundamentalist parties are the religious minorities. They direct their full wrath on these minorities and depict them as dangerous to society and country. The second victims are women. They believe women are inferior to men, root of evil, weak and stupid. Hindutva believes that Hindu women are evil, they're wicked, they are the door of Narak. The third victims are those people who have secular, liberal and enlightened outlook, especially the intellectuals and human rights activists. Under the fundamentalist influence, publication of religious books increases and secular literature rapidly decreases. It also greatly affects music, painting, sculpture and dancing. And as a whole, the society loses its glamour and violence and dullness reign supreme. दोस्तों, ये ब्रदर बिशप जॉन जोसेफ का, फिर उसके बाद अपना गोहा साहब का, आप सारा रिलेट करिए, हिंदुत्व का फिलॉसफी को समझिए। और मुझे तो लगता है टाइम इज कमिंग व्हेन सुप्रीम कोर्ट्स आर फेलिंग अस। हमारे पास कोई रास्ता नहीं बचेगा जो इस सब को नहीं देखना चाहते हैं कि हम लोग भी एक एक करके, जैसे वियतनाम में अमेरिकी ऑक्यूपेशन के खिलाफ वहाँ के बुद्धिस्ट जो थे वो एक एक करके अपने को आग लगाते थे, हम लोगों के लिए भी वही रास्ता बचेगा। दिस व्हाट brave women of Iran also did under Shah, when they had nothing, they had no way out, so they used to come on a चौराहा, बुर्का अपना उतारते थे और वो अपने को आग लगा लेते थे। मुझे लगता है कि that will be the only road left to us. Anyway, I hope that we do not come to that pass, but you know what, I had faith in the system last some year, 2 years especially. I'm very low at that belief and that commitment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Islam, Naren, and also Dr. Dayal, who left us because of some other engagement, and also Roshan Nisar. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And that's the program that we wanted to have this evening. It was a thought-provoking discussion, I believe. All the viewers, I would like to appeal to you that before it is time, why don't we be a good citizen, be accountable to what we do, how we vote, and what kind of ideas we believe in, and let us not be people concerned about our own whims and our own fancies and our own way of life, but let us be also mindful about our nation, and especially think about and pray for the Dalits, the Adivasis and the minorities who are suffering under this regime. And with that note, I would like to end this program. Thank you so much for watching, and keep praying for Rakshana TV. Thank you.